Promoting human rights has been the major focus of the United Nations since it was established in 1945. As a member of the UN Human Rights Council, China has been shifting from a defensive posture to an active role over the years. Its efforts in supporting Africa as a land of hope for the 21st century have been recognized by regional countries. However, there are still voices criticizing China's role in human rights protection, accusing China of practicing neo-colonialism in Africa. I talked with Professor He Zhipeng, Executive Director of Jini University Human Rights Institute, to find out his views on China's role in Africa's human rights cause. About the Belt and Road Initiative, China has on several occasions called for African countries to jointly build the Belt and Road. So to what extent do you think this initiative has boosted the development in Africa?
Africa experienced a long history, and during its experience for modernization, it had tried several efforts. For example, they cooperated with the United States, with European states, and some other African states. But I think Belt and Road Initiative is a little different. The most important thing is that the Chinese government always respect their independence, sovereignty. Therefore, they may choose their own possibilities and choose their own best developed approach for their economic, social, political development. As I interviewed some African friends, they thought that China is honestly trying to help them to boost economy and a peaceful environment and also a healthy political order.
How does that differ from the cooperative model between the West and Africa?
I think comparing with, for example, the cooperative with European states, American states, even with the World Bank, the thing is that those Western culture try to change the African states. They have their own vision, they have their own plan. They say that the best way for you is to, for example, privatization, for example, to decentralization. So for economists, they call this kind of plan as Washington Consensus, and they say Washington Consensus is not really successful. Therefore, they try to ask a further question whether there could be a so-called Beijing Consensus and whether Beijing Consensus can really help. China had already found the best choice. That is, as we have already mentioned, to respect the sovereignty of the states, to let them to find their own ways, but now to design a plan for them. When they have already found their way, China would help them. Of course, based on discussion, what is the best possibility for China to provide aid? I think the most important difference is that China respects those states and respect their sovereignty, respect their independence, let themselves to think about how to develop, and we push them forward on their own way.
We have already seen lots of Western reports about China's neo-colonialism, and they say that China is practicing neo-colonialism in Africa. What is your take?
Definitely, I don't think China is practicing post-colonialism. The most influential understanding of colony or the colonialism is that it is based on economic exploitation. Therefore, the rich states get richer and richer, and the poorer states become poorer and poorer. In international relations, we can say that all the great powers during the past, especially during the 17th to the 20th century, had the experience as a colonial state to deprive welfare from other states, but China never.
So why is the West so committed in promoting this narrative of neo-colonialism and also the debt trap?
I think it is something quite political. As you know, the Western states in the past were very developed and they were leading powers in the whole world. But in recent years, they witnessed the development of China and they found that China had the possibility of surpassing those states. Therefore, they are quite afraid of this because they say that great powers will struggle with each other. Then they try to make the comments like that China is a threat, China is a monster, to lower down the speed of China's development. They try to provide some setbacks, barriers for China in the way of its development. So to make themselves feeling satisfied and give them their own way to development.
How do you evaluate China's and Africa's efforts in promoting the right to development?
I think China understands the right to development very well because you know that the most crucial thing is that China is also a developing country, not like the Western states. So I think China and African states had already established a very smooth and healthy relationships. So this is definitely not colonialism. It is brotherhood and mutual development, win-win cooperation.